right, ladies and gentlemen, the road to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube continues, and we've got a man, ladies and gentlemen, who was just earlier today on Capitol grounds and is legendary and hasn't been, get this, on Sportswire radio in over a year. And boy, has he changed. And on top of that, the landscape of legendary backyard wrestling has changed. Well, I've seen it all pretty much in LBYW recently. I saw a match in a parking lot in Walmart. I saw Capitol grounds. I've seen now an American tour from the Wilster as the U.S. champion. I think he's running. I think is he going to be in tomorrow's debate between Harris and Trump? I'll get to that later. And boy, has our guest been at the topic, at the forefront, not only of legendary backyard wrestling, but the entire backyard wrestling circuit. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a rules change. We'll get into that. We'll show his last match on the screen, and boy, I'm definitely going to remember him after what I've seen recently. We'll also talk about all things related to the backyard wrestling nexus. Obviously, the LBYW gang was a huge part of the highly successful Supernova, and a lot of big news with the backyard wrestling nexus. Ace Reed has been a huge thing, ATK, so a lot of good stuff in the nexus. Anthony Arias was here as well a couple of weeks ago, so a lot to get into here, and boy, am I excited. I'm also excited because our guest is coming off a win with his Dallas Cowboys, so at least I get him now. He's not going to beat me up like Ragnarok and like Queen Just Ice and everybody else recently. So I'm excited about this one here because it has been a hot skip in a minute since our guest is here. And I want to make sure, since after all, we're kicking things off early in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, a platform he and his company helped build, All Wrestling Matters. Let me give him a legendary-like introduction so we can certainly kick not only tonight off in style, but also my road to 1,000 subscribers in style. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it and give our guest that legendary-like introduction. So, with Without further ado, here on the Sportzwire. Number one, Global Sports Show. A man that has been at the forefront of the backyard wrestling nexus, and the man who created legendary backyard wrestling, the premier backyard wrestling company in North Dakota, closing in on 1,600 subscribers. He used to be named CJ Junt, but his name is simply now Remember me, my friend.
Remember me.
How are ya?
Yes. Doing great, man. Glad to be back.
It's been a skip in a minute, boy.
Definitely.
It has been a while, and I know we tried to get this a couple of times right, but
Sure.
We've got it here. But first of all, how you been? It's been a while.
I've been great, and as you just mentioned, even better. I got a Cowboys win the other day. I got a win this morning. I'm doing great.
Boy, you are certainly winning. I tell you that much. But obviously, we'll get into a lot to talk about here tonight. Very excited to have you here. A lot to talk about in LBYW land. I'll put some links up. Obviously, Backyard Wrestling Nexus we'll get into as well. You guys have been at the center of that. But let's talk about, obviously, let's go with Capitol Grounds first. I'll put the matchup on the
Sure.
screen. You got a
Sure.
big victory here, and boy, we definitely remember you, and Ragnarok's definitely remembering it. And for those that are listening and watching, you're on Sportswire Radio in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage on the road now to 1,000 subscribers. Talk about the big win over Ragnarok and how it feels.
Well, obviously it feels great. It's just it comes natural at this point. I kind of went through. I'm sure, as you probably are aware,
Yes.
walking into this season, I had something to prove. And very first match against a returning Napalm, it just didn't go my way. I must have bit off more than I can chew. And it ended up in me embarrassingly submitting. And
The only time you've ever tapped out. Only time
Yeah.
in your career. I mean, Napalm's
Yep.
been, I think I've had Napalm 3 times this year, and it came up at least on 2 of the shows. I think he's been here a
Yeah.
few times.
Yeah, I mean I don't if you might as well just brag about it if you got it to happen. So I can't say I blame him.
Well, could you
Of course, he's
say,
gotta
well,
brag about it.
let me go with a different analogy. Could you say that hypothetically that win for him months ago started him on this road to
Oh,
being
yeah.
a 2-time world champion?
Yep, I'd say so because I mean, think about it. He embarrassed me. Again, something that was held near and dear for me for a while. It was something that I didn't think I could live with. I didn't think I'd come back, and so I took a break. It took a while to just kind of think and reapproach this different path that I set myself on. And while I was gone, he was there capitalizing off of a very good win on his part, and he became the star that he is currently here in LBOW, and that's all good and dandy. But on the other side of that path, like I just mentioned, it set me on a new course. It set me on a new future, and it's part of the reason. Sorry, it's the entire reason why I have decided to drop my prior name. CJ Junt. He had a great career. He did tremendous. He had great success.
You helped this company get to the 1,500 plus subs and be a company that's had some shows that have been in the thousands. There's no question. This company's got a legacy. Absolutely.
Yes, and I had a lot of great battles with Ragnarok in the past.
Yes.
Chris Aruda in the past. Wilster in the past. What did I do? I was able to overcome.
Yes, you were.
Napalm. I faced him 3 times.
Last year, yep. Yeah, Big Wars with him last year.
Not once was CJ able to pick up the victory. So, especially after that embarrassing loss on BYWN broadcast, might I add, which was just a little bit more salt on the wound, if you will.
Because you're at a bigger stage with a different audience than LBYW.
Exactly. Yep. Just to go through that embarrassment is it's outlandish. It's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. Which is why I have been on this new course and have been ramping and raising hell. And trust me, Ragnarok found out.
Oh, well, he found. Well, you did also another thing.
He wasn't facing CJ. He was facing the.
Well, you also there was another thing that we saw about a month or so ago, a black and white match. I'll put that up on the screen. But it's so interesting that you said those things. And do you feel in many ways that what we're seeing is really who you were always?
No. I think, well, maybe. It depends how you look at it.
Sure.
The way that I look at it personally is this is just it's that inner beast that was never unlocked. It was always chained up and tucked in the corner. And I don't hate Napalm for the way that he beat me, because that loss is the reason why I was gone for that stretch of months there, and I was
Yeah, about like
peaking
3 months. I want to say three plus.
approximately. Yep, sounds about right. It got me in this right path. It got me set to really how, sure, maybe how I have always truly been, if that's how you want to think. And let me just say, no one's ready. No one's ready.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting point. Now, I'll probably make you smile at least in this point. I actually redid my video because I was like, oh, shoot, I've got to say just the alpha. I made sure when I did it because everybody, I get asked now, people, when are you getting the video to come out? So when I did the video for you, I was like, let me time it close enough to the, because this is not a usual time for Sportswire shows. So I'm like, let me make sure I redo it. And I made sure I did it the alpha. And it was like, okay, this was the one. So I wanted to, because I didn't want to be Queen Just Ice. I didn't want to be Ragnarok. I didn't want to be some of the opponents you've had recently here. Let me ask you, though, one slight. I do want to get to Capitol Grounds. Obviously, it just came out earlier this afternoon. We're going to put that on. I know people are saying hello. They're coming in here. They're in and out. But you guys have actually taken some rather interesting steps, really some kind of really out-of-the-box kind of things we don't usually see from anywhere in the backyard wrestling circuit. You guys have done some stuff, black and white cinematic matches. We saw the Walmart match. We saw today Capitol Grounds. I think that's very fascinating in a way, kind of taking things and just reinventing the wheel. Can you talk about that, Phil? Because I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah. So I'll save the best one for last.
Okay.
So with the Walmart parking lot, bro.
Yes.
That's so for a while now. We've done a few parking lot brawls in the past.
I did see them. You've done stuff in the park, and your match with Napalm was outside. Sure.
Yep. And so we're like, we wanted to take it to a more just a more common ground. And I mean, let's just be honest here. Walmart is that common ground. Walmart is a subject that is worldwide, everywhere on the planet.
Although you'll chuckle in New York City, we don't have one, and we're not allowed to have a Walmart.
Really?
Because they don't have the unions in New York City blocked Walmart from actually building here. There's certain laws, and we're like the one place probably in the world that doesn't have a Walmart. So go figure. But
what's your replacement?
It's like BJ's, it's like Target, it's like all these knockoffs, and it's
gotcha. Okay. Well, nonetheless, I guess if you're everywhere besides
New York
the Big
City.
Apple, everywhere besides the Big Apple, there's a Walmart in district.
Pretty much everywhere. Yep.
Right. And so we figured, well, why not have somebody beat somebody up in front of a place that's worldwidely known? Maybe it'll get us some more recognition, if you will.
Well, I am definitely going to try to get you guys some recognition tonight for sure, because I definitely think Sportswire has gotten a lot bigger since you first came on, and especially on YouTube. Yes. We're on that road to 1,000 subscribers, and there's a lot of people in the chat. But let's go to current events. You know me. You know my style. It's always let's go in the current first. I don't like to do a greatest hit show. That's some other podcast. But let's go on here. We'll go right to the point. We're going to go here and go more or less to where we start off here. So let's do that right now. So we're going to come up here and, he definitely needed some security there, but it's not going to stop about what's about to come here. So,
yes,
obviously, talk about what we're seeing, because you're down for the count, but not permanently.
No, it definitely took his security force there. As you can see, it took them a while to kind of calm down the situation.
I guess Goldberg's old security years ago, when he would come out from the locker room, wasn't available.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because Goldberg was brought up in our first interview, and
yes, he was.
So it's just kind of a nice little parallel. I like that.
I do give a lot of parallels. I actually today got a message from somebody. I watched the first one you did with so and so, and I was like, "Oh, really? How was it?" I'll get was what it was, but obviously we are here, Capitol Grounds, and we see Ragnarok, and I mean, we're going to certainly see him, but we ain't going to see too much of him here throughout this match. But obviously, we're getting ready and set the tables for our audience.
So pretty much, so I mean, you could look at it in your own perspective if you wanted to, and that's for every other viewer watching the content here, but see, the way that I look at it here is just the path that I'm currently on. Ragnarok and his partner Queen Just Ice,
Yes.
they just crossed at the wrong time. There's nothing personal that they've done to me, and this is nothing personal I'm doing to them.
Well, there's
It's
one
just,
man you really do have personal beef with, would be
there
Napalm,
is.
not them. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But these guys, they're just they're just the cheese trays that you eat before you get to the full course. You know what I mean?
Clever.
That's just what they are. And that's not to discredit their careers. They both had great careers. They've both
Yep.
beaten me before in the past.
Sure.
Sorry, they've beaten CJ in the past. But again, like I said earlier, I stated earlier, this is an entirely different path. This is a different character. This is a different man that they have just so happened to stumble upon. And they had to learn the right way to be corrected and to be criticized by yours truly.
Well, we're seeing you guys trade some barbs here, more or
Yes.
less. And you guys
Yep.
are going at it. And I mean, how is this setting for you different in terms of wrestling a match versus when you're in the usual LBYW setting?
Well, actually, the way I look at it right there is, if you see in the back, you see the North Dakota State Capitol there.
Yes, I did see that.
It's actually, it's a privilege to beat somebody up in front of our state's capital. it's fantastic.
Now, how far is the arena from the Capitol, actually? How far are you guys from the state capitol?
About 5-10 minutes.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Wow! You're just 5-10 minutes away from the state capitol. Wow! I'm in New York,
of course.
I'm in New York City, and Albany would take me. It feels like a day, and it's really, if you thought about it, it's not that far. Holy shnikey! To quote the late great Chris Farley, just 5 or 10 minutes. You guys should film every time at the state capitol. Boy, I mean, is Doug Burgum governor still? Go. You can ask him why he didn't run for president.
Well, let me also reiterate too here. We are talking about maybe metro population about 100,000, 110,000 people. So nothing.
I know that. I'm aware.
Right.
I'm aware.
Nothing crazy. Not like New York. All right.
I know. Trust me. I got you. But that's very interesting. That's so fascinating. You guys are just minutes away from the state capitol.
Yes.
It never really dawned upon you to do this until now.
Actually, the funny part is too, because if you look at some of our past seasons, we're at a different setting each season. And on some of our past seasons, you can see the state capitol lurking in the background, which kind of will give you a little bit more of that's the distance from where we were. Specifically, 2022, season 3, we were. I'm sorry. That's my bad. 2021, season 2, we were about 2 blocks down from the state capitol.
Oh, wow.
Yep. 2 city blocks down.
Wow. Okay. That's very fascinating.
Maybe three, give or take.
Well, Ragnarok is not knowing where he is right now. He could be in the state capitol or in the state penitentiary for all he knows, because he's getting he doesn't know where he is. And it's really, you're almost assaulting him right now at this point. I mean, maybe he can get the legislature to sponsor a legislation to, that's the only way he might be able to get you off him, because he might need legislation to basically say you've committed assault, and that's the only way he's going to get off, from what he's seeing.
Well, if you want to put this in your perspective too, you realize no police have been called because they don't give a damn that Ragnarok's getting beat up.
I did. Well, he had security, and the security, they ain't there with him.
He had the mall cops with him.
Yes, the mall cops. I actually have a friend in real life that is a mall cop, technically a security guard, which is basically the same thing. I have 2 friends out there that are mall cops, but they basically look like mall cops, but maybe in worse than Kevin James looks. They're not listening. It's okay. Trust me, I can say whatever I want. They didn't get me to 900 plus subscribers by now, but we appreciate them nevertheless. But obviously he's gotten up. But I mean, what kind of for the audience? What kind of an opponent is Ragnarok to you?
I mean, he's not something to take lightly. he's got.
I've
some
had him on
strength
here
to him.
before. I'm aware. I've had him on here.
Yes, he's got strength to him. He is a brute, and once he starts getting going, the gas. Once the gas is pumping, I mean, he's, as you see here, he takes advantage when he can, and he will capitalize on the
That was
slightest
actually a pretty
window
clever
that he
move
gets
there. I
open.
mean, he found a way to
Yep.
actually try to get some offense, but he didn't take
Right.
advantage of it. I mean,
That's
not
exactly.
a betting
That's what I
move.
was going to say too. See right here, there's the difference here. He right now should be just piling it down on me. He should be covering me. He should be
I
continuing
say
to
the
beat
same
me,
thing when I
but he
do
can't.
commentary or watch these watch-alongs or kind of our version of the Manning cast. If I see something like this, I'm always saying, why isn't the
Yes.
wrestler
Right.
taking the advantage, taking the initiative to get that count? It's the 1, 2, and then they can argue, then go back and 1, 2, and at least work on your opponent. Ragnarok gave you valuable time to kind of recover a little bit.
Yes. And you know what? I'm gonna see actually on that too, and that is true. But I will also throw this in there to you. The entire time I was on the ground throughout this match,
Yes.
and this goes for every match. I know where that referee is. So when people throw that same thing out there and they're like, "Oh man, the referee took too long to get there," or "the guy's talking too long," and now when he goes for the cover, he only got the 2 count or whatever it be.
Right.
I'm watching that ref very, very carefully, so I know once he starts counting, if I have any time before then, I know I can rest.
And
If
you
I need
noticed
to.
that obviously Ragnarok wasn't doing that, correct?
Yes, exactly. And that's, I mean, again, he is a good talent, but that's just
Oh, I've had him on
the
here.
levels.
Listen. But that's also veteran instincts that kick in from your vantage point. Is
Sure.
that if you're down, pay attention to the ref. And that's an important line for any of our wrestlers. Doesn't matter what you're wrestling on, that pay attention to the ref and where the ref is. Because sometimes the ref is down, the ref is out, and we
Yep.
see the ref now counting here more or less. And we sort of, it looks like here, see that I think Ragnarok tried to get his hand up, but
Tried.
he tried, but he failed, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
Yep. He again, he doesn't just quit, quickly. Compared to how he was when he first started, he's a lot better these days. And
He was on a big
fights.
losing streak, if I recall correctly, once upon a time. He had that.
Yeah, he's definitely done better for himself this year. If you wanted to throw a little salt in the wound there too, he actually does have a victory over Napalm. So, I gotta give him some sort of credit where that falls.
Well, Napalm was also a world champion for a matter of seconds. So to be fair,
That is true as well.
champion.
That's something that's never happened to me. So
yeah, he's definitely infamy here in Sportswire history. But obviously, you were definitely saying, "Remember me," and there you go with your own sort of version of the RKO. And Ragnarok does not remember where he is, and obviously, we're about to get here.
Done.
Yep, 1, 2, 3. There was no way at that point. I mean, I guess he sort of was able to when you had him in that crossface. He sort of got his hand up, but he should have just stayed down at that point.
True. I mean, like you gotta understand that sometimes you gotta live to fight another day.
Yes.
And
I wish I took that advice more with my voice half the time on Sportswire, but that's okay. But definitely remember me. He definitely remembered for sure. And Ragnarok, who knows? Maybe is he still on the stake grounds lying somewhere? Is he still lying? Or what?
I never went back to check. As soon as I turned around, I walked out of there.
Well, somebody in the chat, if we can go to Bismarck, right? Bismarck's the capital. Maybe if we can go there and see where is Ragnarok and if he's still there. And yes, the face of America. He's trying to make wrestling legendary again. But before I do anything, if you're here, please hit the sub button for our friends at Legendary Backyard Wrestling. They've been working with us here for almost a year and a half. We always enjoy having them on throughout the last year and a half. We've had so many stars have been here. Scary Terry, who's been here. Yes, Scary Terry. And I'll get to him in a few minutes. Ragnarok's been here. Obviously, Chris Aruta's been here many times. Willister's been here. And Psychotic Freak's been here. That was a bizarre situation there. Nate Dogg was technically here in an attack. That was just a bizarre situation. And, of course, the Alpha makes, I guess you could say it's sort of his debut. It's return debut. I don't know what we're going with this, but obviously we want to make sure we support all of our friends here. And, okay, so we got a big win. And let's talk about obviously some upcoming events first before we get to some other talent, LBYW. We have the end of the season coming up here. Hellfest is in October, if I'm not mistaken, right toward the end of the month. So where do we go from here now after Capitol Grounds?
So I know that I believe there's a few shows. There might be a um there might be a few throwdown little short matches in there in between.
Right.
But now we have coming up here soon, actually early October. We're gonna be getting the Road to Haunted Hellfest show, which is
Okay.
it's in a sense our go home show, if you
Yep,
will.
I knew that from the previous years.
Yeah.
That's where you guys
Yep.
end the season.
So
That I knew for sure. Sure.
that's a show. Let me put it to you like this. I am going to handle some business.
Ah,
That's my path is set for the big day.
well, we've
And
only
I'll leave
got
it at
about
that.
6 weeks or so left, right? Because
Yep.
throwdowns usually air on Wednesdays, so we got about
Yep.
6 weeks or so until then. So, I mean, how important is it to have a strong finish? Because I'll get to the reason why in a minute, but how important is it to have that strong of a finish?
I mean, it's very important. It's something that to put this into perspective. If you're a reader, okay, and
Yes,
you're
I,
reading
I
your
try
book,
to read. I try to read.
okay, sure, and you're reading your book, or if you're on a site, you're on a website, and you're reading through this chapter or whatever you're doing.
Okay.
When you read it and you're invested in it and you are liking this book, and then you cut off those last 2 pages and you don't know what happens, you're
Hmm.
left tasteless. You're left unsatisfied.
Sure.
So that big finish, you're not trying to miss those last 2 pages of your book. You need to finish that book, sign it, and dot the I's, cross the T's. And that's
As a
exactly
notary, that's
what I
actually
need to
the
do.
thing I say all the time. I'm a notary, and when you got to do the I's and the T's and everything
Yes.
else. It's a fascinating line that you used, and but
You understand. You
yeah,
understand.
oh, I do. I mean that stuff I do understand, but it's also important because Napalm spoke about it, Aruda spoke about it when he was here months ago, when he was in charge, technically as the general manager. But
Yes.
you guys are going to have this as your last full season, and
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I know we're not going away. I mean, I know our friends in NEW are going away, but who knows? They say they're going to do another year worth, but then you never really know at this point. But you guys have said that this is the last full season. You're going to do some stuff. It's not like you guys are not going to be around, but
Right.
that's got to make it more important to finish strong because this
Yes.
is the last full season.
Right. Exactly. And it is uh it is a little hard. It's a bit of a pill to swallow, of
Oh,
course.
for sure.
Really know
Absolutely.
that this is kind of our last big hurrah. But um, when we start going part time, part time, it's it might seem like it's less important, but let me just tell you, anything after the end of this season, it will matter, and it will matter in big ways, because one important rule, and you know it, Tom,
Yes, I do.
all wrestling matters.
No, it does. No, it does. We really do. We were talking off the air. You're like, "Oh, I can I say anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not the platform you might have seen in the middle of the year. We
Sure.
have given new people a chance, and we really are trying,
Yes.
to blend everybody in. But maybe does it make you feel sentimental? I mean, I guess maybe not because in a sense you guys aren't going away. So if it was, for example, this was the end, maybe it would be sad. You get the stomach knots, but because you guys are still around, but maybe doing it in a less way, but maybe it means more. I mean,
Mm,
how are you feeling toward that? I mean, it's not like you guys are going to cry and it's the end. You guys are
right.
still going to be
Right.
around. It's just going to be less of it. So, how are you then feeling right now with where we're going toward the end right now of the season in that sense?
Feeling good. Feeling
Okay.
good. I think we're gonna stick the landing. The landing is arguably the again. and this can go back to the book reference. The
Yep.
landing is arguably maybe not the most important rule, but it's the spine in the back of a human. You need it. You absolutely need it, and that's what we're going to land, and we're going to make sure that it's done well. And I don't have any doubts. I'm pretty. I think we're good.
And we're here with the Alpha, of course, and you just saw him
Yes.
victorious at Capitol Grounds. Today's show for Legendary Backyard Wrestling. You
Yep.
can follow them on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, ND_backyard_wrestling. They
Yep.
also have a Legendary Backyard Wrestling backstage page on YouTube. They've also got a group on Facebook. We'll definitely put all that links in the information description in a few minutes. But let me ask, because I couldn't ask Napalm this question, but I can ask you because it's your company. You know, there's a lot of companies that come on this platform and they've got big names, heavy hitters. And these are companies that they come here regularly, but they don't have the amount of subscribers that you guys have. Only like yesterday, XCW, which is XCW is I got to have a book report and I got to make sure I put everything I can and to put an XCW talent come on here. And the company, I'm turning a new leaf, but ask me in 2 or 3 months, I'll probably give you a different answer. But the facts are is that they have 21 years and they in this circuit, and they only like yesterday got more subscribers than you guys. You guys have a lot of subscribers compared to like even underground feds that come on here, British independent wrestling companies that come on here and are coming back. But do you feel like that? You know what? Maybe we shouldn't end as the final season because you guys the sub show that I mean you guys are right there with a lot of companies that might be in rings, a lot of companies that might have independent wrestlers, a lot of companies that have these big draws, big names. So is there any doubts in a sense? You know what? Maybe we should just keep going. The subs are there.
There was a lot of talks behind the scenes, of course, to try to keep it going. And we all have done a lot of brainstorming. And to keep it going as often as we are now, it's
a hard pill to swallow. It's timely, right?
It's very hard. It's the time's a big stage for myself, just for me. Personally, it's definitely hard to continue. I got 3 kiddos.
I see on
all
Facebook,
3 of them just started preschool about 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God!
And I am turning a new leaf in terms of I've been working at a job for a while, and now I am starting a new chapter somewhere else.
Okay.
You wrap all those up, and then of course throughout the holidays, even just because usually this is why we end our seasons around October anyway with Hellfest. But even with the next few months after October, just with all the holidays, the birthdays, the anniversaries, you name it, it's hard to really continue. So with all of that kind of wrapping up, if you wrap it up in one big ball, it's again, just for myself, it is hard to kind of keep going at this the way that we have been.
Sure,
I don't want to stop. I
monthly,
really don't. I
7
want to
to 8
keep going, but
yeah, it's not easy to do it 7, 8 months. It's a commitment. It's a time. I mean, I don't know if the watch hours monetarily make it worth it. Probably not to do something like this. It's a sacrifice. It's a commitment, and weather's always a factor. You can't do year-round anyway. And most of the WCEs coming back to Sportzwire, they're always here, but they're coming back over the weekend. And they're ending. I was in a group chat with them, and they're ending in about a month and a half. And a lot of outside companies. I mean, TPW's back on Wednesday, and they end in November. So it's tough. I know it's not an easy thing to do, but maybe at least when we do those next year's shows, there'll be still some big shows, and they'll mean something still at least. Maybe they'll mean more. Maybe those shows, maybe Summer Madness is an example will mean more because you're only doing, instead of 20 plus shows, maybe 7, 8, I don't know, so whatever the number. I mean, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, next year when you come back or before then, but maybe that's also another way you can look at it.
Sure. Yep. That's actually kind of perfect explanation to look at it. That's kind of something. If you were to explain it properly, I think the way that you quoted it actually kind of fits the bill pretty there.
But
So
and that, and sometimes that's a good thing because there are companies that come on here and I get like 80 million pieces of shows or information to look at, and
mhm.
that's why it is what it is. But everybody's got different decisions. Okay, you know what? Let me get to comments. I have a lot of comments. I want to get to you to some different things. Let's at least clear the chat for a little bit. Zilla, who everybody got a chance to meet if you saw on Instagram the other day, says we respect the Alpha. Yes, we definitely respect him. We remember him. And thank you
Yes.
for the 900 subscribers. Yes, the road to 1,000 subscribers. I very much appreciate of people's support. My buddy Ox McCoy. Ox actually did something really nice for me. I got to give Ox a big shout out because I didn't get a chance to post it on Facebook yet, but he did such a nice job with this here for the audience. They have to see what Ox McCoy did. He actually gave us something that was really, really cool, and I really want to let the audience see what it is because it's something that it's a very nice gesture from Mr. McCoy, and it's actually this here. We started using it on X just before, which is the new Sportswire logo. So you got a new Sportswire logo from
Oh
Ox.
yes, I have
Appreciate
seen that.
Yes.
Yes, that's awesome.
I did it very nice. Ox is a well-renowned backyard underground deathmatch hardcore wrestler, and he's in the IMF. And he took the time out of his day, which I have no idea why, to design this, and we really appreciate that. So I thank you, Ox, for your support. We'll keep it up. Chris Aruda, a man that obviously I'm going to get to very shortly, says, "What's up, guys?" And he's here before the 49ers game. Yes, I know the 49ers and Jets are playing. Anthony Arias, the man that was here and who seems like he's going the other way. He's changing. He's turning a new leaf in another direction. But he does call. But your name's the Alpha, though. He does call you the Alpha. Yes, he's the Alpha.
So,
but
it's okay. I understand the confusion. Sometimes I do get it because I was CJ the Alpha Junt for a while. So I understand the confusion. I get it. No worries. But just in case people haven't quite gotten there, CJ's died. He's done.
I'm aware. That's why, like I said, I gave my explanation, but it's Anthony
Yes.
Arias, so he's going to have his explanation. We won't hold it against Anthony because
No.
Anthony has become a regular on Sportswire. He's been here twice.
Anthony's too good to be mad at, so I can't be mad at him.
Well, I don't know if his cohorts in FPW would agree right now. I don't know if they would agree. I'll leave that for him. I'll leave that for another discussion.
That's
at
fine.
time.
That's fine.
But that's okay. So we thank him very much for his comment and his support. I'll get to the Nexus in a little while.
If I might add real quick about
absolutely,
Mr. real quick.
Absolutely, yes.
I will say, if you ever need help with Mr. Big B down there in FPW, I'm a phone call away.
Oh, well, he's dealing with a lot of other things right now.
Yes.
Damian Prime's the latest one right now.
Sam Reeves.
Yeah. Yes, it was Sam Reeves. It's always Sam Reeves, but it's Damian Prime's in the description.
You know, Sam Reeves is a perfect, and it's funny because he's from Georgia too. He's a perfect representation. He's a parallel to the Wilster.
I knew you were going there. The Wilster, and yeah, I knew that. Yes. I knew that was coming.
And they chat all the time in
the group chat. I see that. I want to wish a very happy belated birthday to my friend Nolan Money McDermott, fellow trampoliner, who's also looking to trampoline on some guys in WCE. And I know that those guys here in small town backyard wrestling in Illinois are looking to be back on Sportswire very soon. And they might be here as soon as this weekend. So how far are you guys from Illinois, by the way? What's the distance from Illinois?
I'm not exactly 1,000% sure, but I know that they're only about, granted, our states are pretty damn wide, but they're only about, I believe, 4 or 5 states away.
Yeah.
If you were to put it in hours to drive, depending on where they're at, like I think to Chicago, we're looking at about a 16, 17-hour drive.
Okay, so they're not really that close. Never mind.
But they're not exactly too crazy far either.
All right, I was thinking maybe hopefully it'd be a 6-hour drive, and I could say, well, you know what? Can we see another brawl here between STBW and LBYW? But that's a 17-hour drive. I don't know if they're gonna make the drive, but maybe they'll change their mind.
I'm open ears. So.
D'Angelo the Flames in the house. D'Angelo, speaking of travelers, I think the one state he hasn't traveled yet is to North Dakota. So maybe we can get him to go on the plane and then jump off the trampoline and wrestle some of you guys. That would be very nice. I would like to see that.
Hey, we got Haunted Hellfest 4 coming up.
Well,
Could use all the help.
he's I think owed some places to go. Want to say hello there? I know we follow each other on TikTok also, and we know that she's big at Fortnite. By the way, she gets a lot of likes on
Yep.
TikTok for Fortnite. By the way, I
Sure.
should do Fortnite instead of Sportswire. I probably get 1,000 subscribers already on YouTube. Maybe that's the trick. I'm gonna give you the platform. You know what? You can take this over. I'm gonna go on TikTok and play Fortnite here, like Mrs. A here, and I'll go out and maybe I'll get more known. And came back worse. You came back worse than ever. That's because of Summer Madness and other things.
See, I was about to give her credit, but after a moment like that, you gotta just.
Oh boy, well, I see the chat percolating now, so we'll see. Mutual subscription. Okay, thank you for that. Yes, and please hit the sub for our friends in LBYW, and hit the sub for me because I'm literally like almost 100 subscribers. I'm like 90 something subscribers away from 1,000. In fact, I'm actually got so many subscribers. The last month or two, my mother actually watches Sportswire radio shows for the first time for 5.5 years. She even messaged me today. Wow, you're actually somebody now. It took me 5.5 years, but my mother lived
Mama Bryce.
here, and I was
Mama
doing.
Bryce.
Well, she'll probably be here and probably want to strangle with this. But when I was doing the stuff years ago, it was like you're doing a podcast, blah 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 blah. Why are you doing it? But now I'm a somebody now. But thank you. I'll take whatever I can get at this point. Beggars can't be choosers. Yes. Happy birthday to Nolan Money McDermott. Want to say hello to another non-ringer, another young guy who's fighting. He fights on the ground also, the evil Angel Judas, and he's fighting the veterans, obviously, in Ohio. And he is in Ohio, and he had his 8:17 moment. Had to hop in for this one tonight. I am interested in seeing what legendary backyard wrestling is all about. And yes, we are as well. Yes, we love our friends in LBYW. Omen Black is here. He's got a couple of nice words he's going to say, but first he wants to say he's here, and I hope he's doing well for our friends in Iowa and North Dakota. When are they going to get together? Let's see here. Hey, Tom and somebody we don't know. I have an interesting idea for you two. I'll text you both after the stream. Sounds good to me. Text me or tell me here. I'm surprised that the Capitol Police didn't bother you. Well, police seem to not do their job much in most parts of the country. Maybe that's where it all boiled over.
Again, I'll repeat my statement.
Yes.
They weren't interested in helping Ragnarok.
I did catch that. Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah. And Omen said he wants to wish you guys very well. Nothing but the best. Of course, we love our friends.
Yes.
In LBYW, and we love our friends in all our promotions out. That's why you're going to get a chance to see a lot of new promotions on Sportswire. You were one of the guys that actually said months ago, I really like the positive approach more. Well, you've gotten the positive approach more, and people seem to tune in still. So I appreciate your kind words. There is still a few of us that have some good ideas for LBYW. That's my subject next. We're going to take this off the screen that people got the point. My buddy Scooby Stoney from the TSF takes. He's certainly angering Mr. Aruda by saying Jets win because he's a Jets fan and Mr. Aruda is a 49ers fan. So, yes, Jets, Jets. But will Aaron Rodgers be able to snap the ball? Because last year he had, one snap, and then it was snap, crackle, and pop. So let's see if Aaron Rodgers played more than one snap. I mean,
he's. I'm sorry. He won't survive the game. He just no.
Well, I want to see if he can survive the first drive. Let's see. Last year, he only survived one snap. So let's see on that. And then if he doesn't survive this one, he's going to have to figure out if Olivia Munn's available still or Cheyenne Mooney's available. Well, actually, they're both off the table. So maybe he can go after Jennifer Lopez because he'll be getting an AARP card if he gets hurt once again. But let's move on here. That's a different show. This is Prime Time on Sports. By the way, my friend Mr. Jake Dvorak here. Mr. Dvorak and I were speaking earlier today, and it looks like he's wrestling somewhere big. And he'll tell us about it when he's back on Sportswire. Yes, and he is the NEW Underground Wrestling World Champion. And he says hello, and we say hello as well because we love our friends everywhere in the great state of Massachusetts. Worcester, Massachusetts. I didn't say it.
Massachusetts. Wow.
I know someone that can handle the alpha. Oh, he's talking about his buddy in Tennessee backyard wrestling, Mr. Alan Michaels. Yes, he's talking about Mr. the Trendsetter. But Alan Michaels is a humble man, and he's probably having some humble pie right now because he's a Packers fan, and his Packers lost, and Jordan Love went down. So Alan Michaels is having some humble pie right now. All good things take time. I want to say hello to my buddy, the Samoan Dragon from also Iowa. He is always here all the time. Mr. Illadrago, the High Chief has arrived. Hope you good Usos are doing good today. Yes, we're doing well. I kind of butchered it, but you got the point. Rodgers can't beat the Niners. Well, he said he wanted this matchup. Won't survive the game. Well, I said won't survive the first drive, but let's see about that. But the champ is here, and he wants to say you fill in the blanks loser.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Yeah.
says you tapped out. And we know that Napalm's going to be back on Sportswire
Yeah.
next month because, well, he's owed an induction into the Hall of Fame, and he's also our champion. And how do you feel about that? What the champion just said just now?
Um, I think I've said my piece about this enough.
Yep,
If I
I'll
had
move
to
on.
say, anything more about it, time will tell.
Okay, fair enough. Duly noted. We'll certainly make sure that we obviously move on from that. So we'll take care
Yes.
of that, and we'll move here to this off the screen. And Mr. Aruda, which is my next segment that I'm going to get to here. Yes, well, okay, he
Yeah.
wants to continue to bring it up. Well, it gives me enough time to buy a rest hold to pull up some of the things here that
Yes.
we have. So I want to pull this up for the audience.
This is
So
this is
this,
this is what I mean. This is what I mean. He holds on to this. That's his prize. You realize what he just said here. He didn't once mention he's the world champion.
nope, he didn't.
He
To be
he
fair, he
keeps
didn't. I
bringing
mean,
up the one thing that made him relevant. That's all he's got. That's all he's got to
well,
his name.
I'll tell you what I did see here. We have something you did about 2 months or so ago here for the audience. I
Yes.
mean, you want to
Yes.
talk about this change you made for LBYW here? Do you want to talk about that a little bit for the audience? I know you did it on
Sure.
Instagram already, but what would you like to elaborate for the audience here right now?
Sure. Yeah. So something that I realized, and it's crazy that it took this long to just realize, much less in the middle of the season when this was dropped, might I add. But I realized that LBW needed a bit of a change. And I mean, think about this, right? I mean, think of backyard wrestling back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s when it was at its peak, right?
Now we had James Taylor, who always tells about his glory
Exactly.
days at 99
Yes.
and 2000.
Right. What was that era best known for? It's craziness. The
Yeah.
the the violence, man.
Yep,
The
jumping
the
off
the, the havoc.
houses and
Yes.
going and
Yep.
doing things off rooftops. Yeah, that was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's, and man, do I wish one day we could maybe reach that level. But as a
Yeah.
start, because you got to start somewhere, I
Sure.
realize, you know what? We need to change it up, and we need to be
Yep.
more backyard friendly. We can't be going by these professional rules because we're not professionals. So what we're gonna do is we started going by this new act. The NMRA stands for No More Rules Act.
Yep.
It's self-explanation. Literally anything and anything can go down. And it does unfortunately benefit a few people to their liking. The Wilster and the PBS,
Yep.
just to point a few.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just something that you gotta, because that was brought up a lot. Oh, you're gonna change the rules so that these guys can wreak havoc all they want. And it's like, well, you know what? Think outside the box. You know that these guys are gonna come in and start jumping you. You know it. They do it every match. So how do you stop it? Bring yourself some extra protection and start beating them up. Take care of your business, and then handle your business in the ring
Yeah.
or on the ground, on the trampoline, wherever it is that you're
And
trying to
that's
handle
what I
your
hear all
business
the
at,
time
and do your
with
thing.
all these shows. It's the numbers game, the numbers game. Well, you have
Yes,
to obviously even the numbers to give yourself and your whoever you're
exactly.
working with a fighting chance, more or less.
Right, right. So it's just that. Plus, it's also just to help it make it seem more original. It's
Sure.
just like it just kind of gives us our own
Well, we talked about that earlier in the
set
show.
of
You guys
rules.
have taken some steps. We saw the fight in the Walmart
Yep,
parking lot. We've seen Capitol Grounds today. You
yep,
obviously had a black and white cinematic match. So there's no question
right,
that LBYW is doing some things to reimagine the wheel and
yep,
reinvent. And I think that that's
and
all positive things to take away from that.
right. And see, another cool thing that reflects off of this rule change is we just had a tournament recently. I think
Yep.
it dropped about a month ago. We had a ground
Yes.
and pound tournament.
Yes.
Literally, you were on the ground and you were
Yep.
surrounded by weapons, and
Yes.
you used
The
what you
belt.
could
I
get
mean,
your
how about
hands
those
on.
belt shots?
Yeah, yeah. There's, I will say, that was a gnarly show, and it was
Yes.
great. It was a good show. Everyone put up, well, uh, aside from Scary Terry, everyone put up a fight, and they did their thing. So they
Gary
went through
Terry's
hell.
an interesting guy. I had him on here, and it was
Yeah.
like I don't know what he was thinking being here,
No.
but he was certainly doing things. So I think it's a clever
Yes.
thing. I think it's exciting, and I think that those are things that obviously are good. But we
Mm.
had a managerial change with Chris Arruda, and we
Yes.
had basically Napalm was here. It's funny, the day that this took place, that was when Napalm was here on Sportswire Radio. I think it was like literally about a half an hour, 45 minutes later,
Yep.
you came out with this. I mean,
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's funny because you see, what had happened is it's how can how can we explain this? Um, so
well,
when that interview that you did with
Napalm.
your champion of BW there, when you had your interview with him, there was some news that was dropped on the show by the then general manager, and
Yes, Mr. Arruda.
it wasn't
Well,
what
there was a lot of
was
questions at
agreed
that
on.
time, but there was questions anyway. Because again, I've had Scary Terry's been here,
Yep.
Psychotic Freak has been in here, Napalm's been
Right.
here a couple times. So I've had on. I probably did about 4 or 5 segments LBYW in the past. I would say 4 months or so,
Sure.
and his name came up as questionable decisions, questionable leadership skills. So that was talked
Yes.
about in a sense. Maybe that was before, and I think when Napalm was here, I had talked a lot about
Mhm.
some of the things that had happened in his situation. So there was definitely some questionable decisions, I guess, that maybe led to some in the locker room, maybe some doubts
Well,
about his job performance, maybe.
I mean, I know that one of the biggest questionable decisions he made was when he brought in Scary Terry
Oh,
and set him
yeah,
set
and
him
he was.
in for
Yep.
uh he set the guy up for failure right away. It's just, he knew that Terry um wasn't trained properly. He doesn't have the experience. He was, I mean, brand
On
spanking
paper,
new.
he looks like on paper, Scary
Yes,
Terry looks like he
right.
should be a guy right up here with names that come on here all the time, like Big Man Cam
Yes,
and
yes.
just these guys that have huge size that look like they should be straight out of central
Yep.
casting and should be world champions or at the top of the roster. And
Yes.
really what he unfortunately is, he's green. He's really as green as a tree.
See, yeah, right. That's what you're saying is that um, in that case with Scary Terry, he that's where your skills really come into play because he's strong. He's a very strong
Yeah,
guy.
he's one of the bigger guys in the entire backyard
Yes.
underground wrestling circuit, but
Right.
then
Yep.
there's just a level of I don't know. He just reminds
Yes.
me of one of these basketball players years ago that was like 6'9", 6'10", and you think that they should just go out and dominate, and then you watch
Yeah.
him and it's like reminds me of Michael Ola Candy, Sean Bradley. Reminds me a lot of these guys, Yinka Dare, that they were in the NBA, and yeah, on paper they should have
Hmm.
been more than they were, and it's a
Right.
work in progress. I mean, maybe he'll get there. I would hope he would get there. I don't know.
Yeah. He's been with us since, gosh, what, April, May,
I would
and
say, yeah, he came here in May. He came here
yeah.
in May. I think
Okay. Yeah.
Aruda,
Right.
yeah, Aruda signed him in April. I want to say like the end of April. I'm sure
That's
Aruda
right.
was
Yes,
correct.
that's right. Because that was when Golden Ticket happened. So
Yep.
yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, it's like he's a good guy. He's done well for what you could get from him. But it's just it takes a lot to learn. That's something that I don't think a lot of people really notice when they do this. They're like, oh, this is easy. We can do this. It's not, and you can see right there. It's not. He's
There's a
got
level
one
of
win, one or two
yeah.
win. He's got like one or two wins under his belt, and
It's a level of
you know,
awkwardness, unfortunately. I mean, it's a work.
yes,
Listen, I'm not a wrestler. I have no idea, but I think that again, some guy. Listen, we've seen it in WWE. Omos has just never really been able to put it
yes,
together. I mean, There are
Right.
just sometimes big men that just they struggle. Bronson Reed now has finally gotten it together. It took him a while. I mean, Mark Henry took him a long time to get it
Right.
together, where he finally got over the hurdle. I mean, Great Khali
Yeah. See,
never really got. I mean, he won a world title, but really,
yeah.
so unfortunately, Scary Terry can go one way or go the other. I mean, we're watching
Yes.
here in this
Exactly.
match. That's why I put it up on the screen. But that really
Yep.
leads me to Aruda and his decision. So basically, it was
See.
questionable, and it led
Right.
for a change.
Right. Like for every Shaq, you get a Zion Williamson. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
for basketball guys out there.
Yeah,
It's
well, I go back.
you
I'm
know.
old enough to remember Michael Candy, the Candy Man. He was a
Yes.
big deal. He was supposed to
Yep.
have been like another Shaq, and the
Yeah.
Clippers got him, and he never really amounted to anything. It's just, listen, in
Exactly.
sports history, there's guys littered as big men that
Yes.
that obviously it didn't work out. I mean, we'll see if it works out here, but
Yeah.
well, I did
We'll
put the
see.
matchup here, the parking lot brawl, before I get into the Nexus talk for the rest of the segment. But I
Mhm.
mean, just what are we watching here for the audience? I mean, I got a chance to watch it the other day, but how interesting was this?
This um this is actually really good. It was really interesting to watch. If I had to really pinpoint, uh, Scary Terry himself, if he had to have two, really good matches in his very short and uh,
This is one of the better ones.
amateur career, yeah, this one's up there for one of his better stuff. And obviously, it's not just all falling on his shoulders, which is good for a man of his skill set. He's just a partaker. He's not a carrier, and that's what helps him, I think, in this match. But in all, though, in this matchup, all three of these guys brought it. They brought their best out, and they did what they could do in a very unnatural setting. I mean, when you're up there, when they're on top of the
I was gonna
above the
say this
grass,
is
there's
like
people
I don't
watching.
think I've ever seen anything like this.
Yeah,
I mean, because
I
I'm
mean,
from New York City, we don't really have anything that looks like this. So I'm like I was watching it so fascinating in the setting there. I mean, it's
it's
this
a lot of green, huh?
mall. Yeah, I mean, is this a recent mall that's developed or just
Nope.
recently? No.
We still until it gets about mid-November. We kind of keep our green for a while.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay. Wow. Okay.
because that's the funny thing is with North Dakota, even throughout the fall, um, it'll still be. I mean, it's just 90 degrees here 2 days ago,
Oh
and
wow. Yeah, I
it's
just spoke to the
you know
TVW guys. It was, I think, was one of them who I spoke with. It was not chaotic. It was Jacob Young, and he was telling me it was like 90 degrees and
yeah,
for like the whole week down there. And I was like, in New York, it's been
exactly.
like 70s, like pretty much the last 3 weeks. It's almost like
Oh
it's just
wow.
been, yeah, just been 70s. It rained a little bit Saturday, but it's really been. I think we just touched 80 one day on Friday, but that's it. Nothing.
Well,
It's been
well,
usually it's like 95 degrees right now in New York, and we've.
we just filmed some stuff the other day, and I tell you what, 70 degrees would have been amazing, but
Well, our
we didn't
luck's
get
gonna
that.
run out in New York because we're gonna hit 80s the next couple of days, but it won't be like
Oh
95.
yeah,
It'll still
sure.
be pleasant, but interesting. Obviously, we get a chance to watch some of this, and I mean, this has to be fun though, filming stuff like this and getting a
It
chance to
is.
see some of your
Well,
talents you wrestle.
the funny thing is too, when we do stuff like this, and we've had this happen in parking lot brawls specifically in the past, we get random people that are out doing their regular day thing. Like for instance, on this one, up there on top of the concrete, there's people that are still shopping at night, and they're doing their regular things. That truck up there, for instance, there's a gentleman up there sleeping, and his dog is in the passenger seat,
I wasn't gonna
and
ask, but I was gonna ask, was this like in the middle of the night or was this like 10,
um,
11 o'clock at night? Was
it's
this
about 10, 11
okay?
around there,
Okay.
around. So because around here Walmart closes at 11:30 or so, or something around there. So this was just prior, like just
Oh
before they
wow.
they
Yeah,
closed
because
down. So
I knew you
yeah,
couldn't film this at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
no,
I don't
no,
think you would
God
have been
no.
able to get away with that. But
But I mean, yeah, I mean, you could see there's still a crap ton of vehicles over there. There were people, tons of people walking, coming back from shopping, and they're watching us. And it's actually kind of a really cool feeling because these guys have, for one, absolutely no idea what is going on? They see a couple of guys beating each other. I think if people, and I know not everybody does, if people use a little bit of common sense, they realize, okay, there's some like jumping going on here, but they see a guy in a ref shirt. So I think and then since some guys
People
filming,
know,
I
you know
think they
what? They
kind of pinpoint and pull
don't.
things together. You don't
Yeah,
always get that because we have had
no.
the police called on us quite a
Yeah, you
bit,
said this before.
but
Some guys have said that, but obviously the match
yeah,
is over. It's Napalm gets a victory, and I want to turn it back to Aruda for
yeah.
one more second. When you look back at Aruda's recent tenure, is
Mhm.
Scary Terry one of the main reasons why he's not in charge?
No. So yeah, I guess what we can do, I guess so. Okay, so we can kind of come back a little bit to what we were talking about prior with Aruda.
Yep.
So the reason why he left, just to be straight up with you, it was a lot of not. I don't want to say personal stuff, but it was. There's a certain way that all of us collectively film and plan out our filming, and we have things written down. And something that Aruda does do from time to time, and trust me when I say this, I'm not the only one that has this feeling, and this is a fact. Um, a lot of times, Aruda, prior to and then while being and then after being general manager, he likes to butt in there and he likes to get in there, and sometimes it's a little too much, and it ticks the wrong people off. And in
Well,
this
we saw that
particular
in
case,
ring
it
stuff.
wasn't
We
me,
saw what
but
was going on. No, but we saw, he was trying to be
right,
impartial, but there was some
yes,
struggles in the season. Obviously, PBS was a part of that, and there
yes,
was some
yes,
different things. We saw different referees, so
right.
obviously a
And see,
change was made. Yep.
right, and it's funny that you bring up the PBS too, because actually there was something that happened. Gosh, I want to say it was Summer Madness Heat Wave. I'm pretty sure
Are we
something went
talking?
down. The
Yep.
PBS came out and they were doing their thing, and lo and behold, Aruda came out and he was trying to even the odds, but we actually it wasn't planned, and it just didn't
Uh,
work right, and it kind of ticked one of the guys off over there. I won't mention
sure.
names, but we actually ended up just cutting that entire bit from the show because it ruined it, and it just didn't make sense. And that's kind of some of the play. If we had to get just a tish personal, that's some of the things that kind of led to him leaving. And when I say that he left, everything everything's all good. Um there's no like bad blood with Aruda with at
Yeah,
all
he's
because
here in the chat.
he
I mean, he
still
said a couple
shows
of
up.
things. It's definitely
Right.
not a
Yeah.
it's not a situation that
Exactly.
it's
He still shows
personal.
up.
Yeah.
It was his choice to leave. He left.
Yeah, I think he and I spoke. I think he and I spoke after this, and it was. I
Yeah.
think it was. I think we did. Maybe Crystal will quote me, but maybe we spoke once on Facebook about it. I think we did. I don't
Sure.
remember. It's a while ago now, but look, it happens. Obviously, you guys are marching on, and Aruda's still here in the chat. And I think that
Right.
his legacy speaks volumes. He's a Hall of Famer. He's done a lot for LBYW. He's done a lot for our
Yes.
circuit. And I think that
Yep.
Chris Aruda will always have a place, should he desire to, in LBYW. Obviously, we know what the body
Yes.
is right now, and it's
Right.
physically he's not able to go out there and do what he used to be able to do. But I think that
Yes.
obviously cooler heads prevailed, and you have to go forward. Let me get to some comments here
Hmm.
before I transition into the Backyard Wrestling Nexus. And we are here with CJ, who used to be CJ, but now he's the
Yes.
Alpha, because if
Yes.
you call him CJ Jun, he's going to come after you like he did to Ragnarok. But he is the Alpha. He was very successful, and he had a huge victory earlier today in Capitol Grounds against Ragnarok. He
Yes.
also won
Yes.
at Summer Madness against Queen Juice Ice. And
Yep.
my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. And I'm going to be here tonight, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, also with Chase Sullivan of the
Yes.
Underground Wrestling Alliance, who just lost his Southern Championship. So we'll talk about
Hmm.
that here and some. But let me get to a bunch of comments because I got some here. And we'll answer the gunshot question later, but I'm not going to spend
Oh
much time
man.
on gunshot on Omen. We're changing the platform on Sportswire. We're not going to go there, but that's the beat. That's BTW. Yes, we're talking LBYW. But thank you about Steven Storm, and I do appreciate that. But that's the different trampoline. Mr. Aruda's open to coming back as general manager. Maybe me and the Alpha can sit down and figure something out. Yes, I think obviously you never know. Never say never. Yes, we
Right.
love Nolan Money McDermott. Hello to D'Angelo. Chris said he thinks he had too many hats on at one time. Possibility.
True.
Also, I own that. Yes, Scary Terry, and maybe he should have been developed a little bit more. Yeah, it's a possibility. He just, was what it was. And yes, Gunshot's not going anywhere. Gunshot's not any promotion right now. I think that's pretty much. Thank you for the fan that answered that question. But Gunshot's not going
Yeah.
to wrestle anywhere. We're going to move on from Gunshot. We don't want to give relevancy
No.
right now to Gunshot
No.
and anybody else.
No.
Yes, hi to Napalm, but Napalm had a few other things that I'll come back to. Want to say hello to the icon Jack Spade. Jack Spade's in the house, obviously formerly of Resurrection Wrestling, although stay tuned there. Who knows? You never know. Jack Spade will maybe be back on Sportswire soon. He says though, Napalm, he'll talk about his championship when he comes back on the Sportswire. Okay, well, I mean, I'm happy to have you back, but he doesn't want to talk about the title right now. Okay, clever, I suppose.
Well,
interesting take though.
Even
a champion not talking about their championship run to
Right,
you
right.
live. I don't know. We'll find
see
out.
that right there. That's ignorance. He doesn't. He forgot he had a championship because he's full of ignorance. He's full of himself, and he's stuck. He's stuck on that win back in January. That's all he's on.
Well, okay, fair enough. Well, you know what? In the interest of time, let's talk about a couple of other things. I want to talk about the Backyard Wrestling Nexus because obviously Anthony Arias was here. We put him in the Hall of Fame, long overdue. We finally had him here on Sportswire Radio, not once but twice. Supernova, you guys were a huge part of that. I have some Nexus business to take care of. First of all, we've got some Nexus merchandise that if you like to buy some, you have a bunch of that here. So obviously, Supernova was highly successful. We've had some big names here coming up that have been in the Nexus. Certainly, Ace Reed was here. He's a topic everybody's talking about right now in the Backyard Circuit. So, how do you feel about things right now in the Nexus? Supernova, highly successful, and we have some merchandise there as well.
I think everything's going great. I think the Nexus, it seems like it's in a different state from how it was prior to Supernova 3 coming out. And that's for multiple reasons. I mean, for one, even just the brand new logo itself kind of speaks new era about it,
Yes.
and it's nice. It's beautiful. It gives that nice crisp look. It's something new. And with today's generation, that's what you need. People are so they want the new thing. They want the new thing. So what did the Nexus do? The Nexus gave us that new thing, and they're on a new step. And I think the path that the Nexus is going on right now is very awesome, and it's very.
I've said it many times for
delicious.
months. There is a lot of major accomplishments that the Nexus has had. Certainly, LBYW's success is at the top, and Ace Reed. Ace Reed is somebody that he has broken down barriers. He has broken down doors, and even ones that people respect highly in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit talk about Ace Reed. And Striker, we've seen what Striker's done here in the BYWN, and we also had Jay Gaz come back at Supernova. That was a big surprise. Jay Gaz long-awaited return. I think that was a big deal there.
It's always good to see Jay Gaz. He's the fact that he's doing what he's doing over there in Greece. I couldn't imagine what he would be doing here in America, and the same goes for both Aussies. Striker and Ace Reed.
Oh, Striker. I mean, what a match. I watched Striker and Ace Reed. I know, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see it on Supernova 3, but Ace posted it on his YouTube stream. But Striker is just, oh, my goodness. What a match. Those guys, I mean, they did better than some guys that are in a ring. I mean, some in a ring, not all, but what they put out there was a heck of a match what those two guys did. Striker and Ace Reed. Phenomenal match they had.
They're tremendous talent. So.
Absolutely.
Much respect.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, what do you want to see the Nexus do going forward? Obviously, we've got some merchandise there, some new merchandise. People are welcome to go by and check that out. But you feel then things are in a better place right now at the Nexus right now?
Yeah, I do. I think that Aries is kind of because obviously, as you know, he's the founder. He's doing a lot recently, a lot more dilating. He's come up with a lot better ideas. He's, things have been flowing through. And then, of course, like I said, with the rebranding and then the addition of Sportswire Radio into the BYWN, which, by the way, congratulations to that. That's awesome. I think all of that really kind of shows that the efforts of the Nexus are changing and for the better.
And I
And
always supported the idea of an outlet to give people an opportunity to network. To me,
sure,
at the end of the day, that's always a positive. I have said
yep.
many times, regardless, that to me, I believed in the idea from the very beginning of the Nexus because I'm a believer in open collaboration. I'm a believer that there was a lot of positives to take away from the Nexus and giving people an opportunity. We've seen people come through the Nexus, obviously some really big names in the backyard circuit that have been a part of the Nexus. So to see that there is an outlet for people, and I think that there is a lot of things that go into that. I think there's Discord groups. We've seen chats and a lot of things that I think people like. Again, ATK now is the XCW New Age champion. We've seen again Ace Reed's success. You guys, I mean, breaking down doors and the amount of subs that you have. Jay Gaz being back. I think there's a lot of things to certainly look at and feel that the future is very positive right now.
Oh yeah, yep. I would agree. I'd agree. There's no denying any of that. For sure.
Oh, it is. And there's a lot of big names that have been in the Nexus, and I think right now we're seeing a new generation of them. And I'm going to put the Nexus information up here shortly, but I want to continue to keep the merchandise page up for a minute. But Mr. Arruda would like to say, I'll admit I did get involved a little too much. I need to learn my role since my in-ring action is over. Just hard to accept it because I had so much fun doing and putting up matches for all the fans. Well,
right. And that's I was gonna say that too. That's part of the reason too why I think that's just kind of who Arruda is. He wants to just fight and he wants to play. If you were to put it into that perspective, he wants to wrestle. That's his thing. And I totally wish he was still able to wrestle. I know that even with today's current roster, he could put up some good bangers.
I think that there's probably still something left in the tank, but we just had on Chris Jones of XCW, who's wrestled his last match, and I mean, he's just wrestled it with a torn labrum. He had an issue with a rotator cuff, and I mean, there's a lot of issues that he had that in the ring that, I mean, you have to look at it realistically. Is you can be seriously injured to the point that you just don't know out there. And obviously, if you want to check out the Nexus information, first of all, this is their YouTube channel. And right now, the Nexus has put on some really big shows recently. Supernova 3 was highly successful. Unity was highly successful. And we know LBYW has been a huge part of these things. I mean, ATK is mentioned there. We know what he's been doing. Ace Reed's been mentioned. Jay Gaz. We've seen some really big names here in BYW that we really love seeing in our Nexus. And we want to make sure everybody succeed. And this is the Nexus information. I'll come back to that. But Mr. Arruda also wants to say, but unfortunately, sometimes our body just says no. Listen, Chris Jones at XCW basically did one more run. He did about a handful of matches. And at the end of it, the body was ready to retire. It was ready to give it up. And I think that's obviously, what you have to look at more or less. And obviously those are things you have to watch for your health and your family.
Well, see, and I'll kind of reflect on that too with Arruda specifically. There's been countless times throughout LBW's short history that Arruda's he's done his thing, and then per his body, mostly his back, he's had to call it quits, and so he would retire. But then it just wasn't right, and it just wasn't right, and it just wasn't right. So he'd come back, and he'd come back, and come back, and he's wrestling, and it would happen. Where I'm not even kidding. I think he's retired about 5 or 6 times.
I had him here the first time, and I think he was coming back one more time after that. He came back like a month later, if I recall correctly. I think that was the time when he came back and had another run and had the U.S. title situation, and then it was like, okay, now I'm done. He was here at the beginning of the year, and I mean, it's tough.
Right.
It's not easy.
Right, and so I think that kind of what you were explaining with the other situations as well is that for Arruda, I think that was like he came back, and that was his last hurrah. He came in, he had the
U.S. title.
U.S. title with the Battle of the Five series matches
Yep.
with Ragnarok.
The best
Helped
of, yep.
put right, and he helped put Ragnarok over. Became double champ again, and then after that, he finally was able to really go out on his own when he wanted to, which was at our biggest show last year with Hunt Hellfest 3. And then from there on, Anthony Aries stepped down as general manager,
Yep.
and then he handed it to Chris Aruda. So
Correct.
I think Aruda has came in and he's kind of done his last hurrah. Again, and this is with wrestling in general. It's honestly really never for sure thing until death.
Oh,
Really.
listen, Flair's come back, and
Right.
Flair still talks about occasionally one more time.
Yeah.
Hogan last year was like, I'm in the best shape I've been in, and I want
Right.
to do it one more time. And, Sting's retired, but we saw him a few weeks ago. His
Yeah.
Undertaker came out at WrestleMania. So,
Right. So,
you never really know, but I feel like with Chris Aruda, that was the
yeah.
way to go out. Chris Jones basically had the same situation health-wise as Chris Aruda.
Right.
And I think it's basically call it quits now because you've already
Yep.
done it. You had the run. You're in the Hall of Fame. You're still
Yep.
involved.
Yep.
It's a big
Right.
commitment. And let me get to some more comments as we get toward the
I agree.
remaining minutes of the show. Okay, good point here. That's how all we feel here at LBYW with us retiring our show to part-time. I don't know if it was missed earlier, but yes, I do. Well, you didn't kind of say it was Ragnarok, but it's so much fun. None of us want to quit, but life happens. Yeah, that's what's tough. I'm speaking to people in different feds, and we had our friends in Massachusetts, NEW, and it appears to be that they're going to have another year of filming, 2 more seasons, and guys and gals want to go out and do different things. They want to go out and be a part of, let's say, independent wrestling or more traveling. And then you've got other feds where maybe the body is failing on a wrestler. So it's not easy. This is not WWE.
No.
This is not AEW. People don't have contracts. People don't have money to get from this really. And people have to make a decision. You can go the 2 ways. You can do this for fun and, be a yarder, or you can go and try to go the route of training and go into maybe an indie career. And you have to make those, unless you're ESW, where you can do and have the million subs, or GTS. That's a different ball game, But everybody gets Grim. Grim was 1 in a million, but you have to figure out what's best. And what if you have a family? What if you're have to get a job, or you have bills to pay? And everybody's like, me either. Me and Grim, we're the only exceptions. Me and Grim. Grim can go out and live off his subscriptions. I can go. I'm fortunate by the grace of God to have a couple things to allow me to do this. But, me and him, we're the exception. Me and Graham, we're the exceptions. I would say everybody else, if you have to go and go out and work in the workforce, and if you want to be there, it'll be there. But that's the Nexus information. We want to thank, obviously, Anthony. We want to thank everybody in the Nexus. We're so appreciative. We've always worked with the Nexus before, but obviously we have more Nexus coverage coming up. Ace Reed has always been here so many times, and obviously we've had our LBYW friends. Arius is here, and he's going to be back again. So we really love working with our Nexus. We have more LBYW coverage ahead coming up here. Psychotic Freak, that's an interesting conversation in itself. So a lot of good things. Yeah, well, but Psychotic Freak, at least he did have a memorable moment on Sportswire. He had a memorable moment.
Right.
He wasn't Scary Terry. There's hope with Psychotic Freak. He's psychotic, but he sort of had to. But you know what? I got all that, and I realized we're going toward the end of the show. Let's talk about a couple things here first. What are your goals for the rest of the year coming up?
Well, to be straight up, there's really no sugarcoating it. I'm here to set myself back on the path that I was once, currently under a different name. I'm here to readjust that trail. And there's one man I have not been able to conquer. One man that has always been a pain in my ass, and still to this day, because he keeps bragging right there. That man, I will work my way, and I'm getting there. I will work my way to him. And until I've earned that, because I am no slouch, until I've earned that, I will not come face to face with that man at all. Until I've earned it. And I promise you, this is a true statement. You're hearing it here first right now.
All right.
It's coming. It's coming. And when it happens, it will not be shocking because it should be a given.
What is
It's
understood doesn't need to be discussed, huh?
exactly. It's you already know it. It's gonna happen. So just
Okay.
wait and see. The interesting part is the road to travel to get there.
We have a lot of time to get there. Still have a lot of time left
Yep.
in this season. This is not over yet. There's a
No.
lot of coverage coming up here. So that's stuff that I'm,
Oh yeah.
really excited about for sure that I want to say. And I also have some sad to also bring up here because Zilla said she wanted to say rip to the actor
Yep.
James Earl
Yep.
Jones. Very sorry about that. Sorry.
Yes.
Wants our
Yes.
thoughts and prayers to so many of his fans, obviously Star Wars, and wasn't the guy that CNN? This is CNN. Didn't he do that? I think it was him, right?
Yep.
But that was when
Lion
CNN,
Lion King too. Lion King
Lion
too.
King. I forgot about that. Well, that was
Yep.
when CNN did news, but I don't want to get into politics because people will shoot me if I say something that I don't like. But changed his whole personality because his in-ring boyfriend is better.
Mm. So I mean, no matter how many times you beat these guys senselessly, they have big mouths. So I got one path, one thing to conquer, and that's all I'm worried about.
Well, I tell you what, I know we're getting toward the end of the show, but I want to make an announcement for something about legendary backyard wrestling. And I've been waiting to do this. I've had this in my pocket the whole day. You asked me over the weekend, are we going to do it? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Trust me, you better believe this one I had circled on my calendar. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to do something that I think is going to benefit the entire legendary backyard wrestling locker room and all the fans of LBYW because, it's been great to have you guys here for the past year and a half. We've obviously had many of you. Well, Scary Terry will give a mulligan for, but when the season ends, I know that the season is going to be coming to an end here in a matter of weeks. But after the season, I'm going to do something that I think is going to really benefit everybody, as I stated, for legendary backyard wrestling. As a matter of fact, it's going to be legendary what I'm going to do, and I think it's going to really, put everybody in a place that will always remember legendary backyard wrestling for legendary, whether it was in black and white, whether it was on Capitol grounds, whether it was in a Walmart parking lot, whether it was Summer Madness, whether it was a part of the BYW's backyard wrestling nexus. But for those that are listening and watching here in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, I am going to personally induct into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame the entire legendary backyard wrestling promotion in the month of November sometime to give you that legendary moment, that legendary recognition that you guys all deserve. So we're going to make that legendary. We're going to make that special. And maybe you'll have to get some of your colleagues or your enemies or frenemies on the screen here, but we're going to do that once the season ends. And congratulations.
Well, that's actually crazy. That's really cool news. That's cool. That's really cool. I like that. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep, that's what we want to do. We think that you guys have, definitely done a great job. You guys have definitely earned that moment. I think that you guys, with the subscribers that you have, with the body of work, I think you guys have also done a lot of things that I think have been certainly legendary. You might want to say cinematic wrestling, and we obviously have gotten a chance to see the legendary backyard wrestling backstage segments. You guys were opening up all those WWE trading cards. We've seen the award shows. We've seen just a number of interviews backstage. We've seen a lot of different things, and I think that the time is right. We're about all wrestling matters, and yes, that includes everybody out there. And I think that LBYW's history speaks for itself, and I think that LBYW should earn their place into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame with the other promotions that have been here and the other wrestlers and talents. And I think that we'll definitely do that after the season is over. And I know it's going to be a hard goodbye for full time, but we're not going away permanently. But I think that this will be an icing on the cake, that it'll be an opportunity for everybody to feel good, have a moment that everybody can look forward to. And congratulations to everybody that's earned it.
Well, thank you. While I kind of got you here real quick, so this is what I briefly mentioned to you off stream.
Go for it.
I'm not gonna say anything too crazy.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil
We've kind of
nothing.
moved away from some of that stuff. We've gotten away from talking about people's personal lives on sports. I see you celebrating it. We've moved. I've been trying to move away from some of that right now.
But I will kind of give you a little bit of a teaser. Now, I can't say exactly what or with where or with how or whatnot. That's for you and everybody else to either one, figure out, or two, wait and see.
Okay.
Haunted Hellfest 4
Yes.
will not be the end of this season.
Okay. All right. Well,
there is something that we will. There's a handful of stuff we will be sneaking in, and that's all I will say about that. So just Haunted Hellfest 4 will be the culmination of a lot, yes, but there is some dessert to have after the big show.
Okay.
Sometime after the big show. So just keep an eye out.
Okay. Well, obviously,
people
will tune in, and if you want to tune in, that's that LBYW YouTube channel. They're on Facebook. They're on X. Although they don't really use X, but they're on Threads. They're on Instagram. All these other platforms, and you're welcome to check them out. I think that obviously we'll certainly look forward to what the future is. Obviously, never say never, and well, it's up to them. The season could end, and the season may not end. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be up to them, and we're excited about whatever might come for our friends in LBYW. And I think whatever it'll be, the best is yet to come. And also the announcement again that LBYW will go into the Hall of Fame after the season. So whenever that might be, we'll put LBYW into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and we'll also get a chance to see some of the talent. I believe Napalm will be here in a few weeks. Scary Terry is here next. No, Scary. Thank God Scary Terry's not here. Sorry about that. Psychotic Freak, unless Scary Terry is interfering on Psychotic Freak, but I don't think that'd be a good idea. But Psychotic.
Well, if Freak's smart, he'll lock his door.
Well, you know what's funny? After what happened to him, you know what's funny? You said that before we move on. After he got attacked, that's happened like 4 times on Sportswire Radio.
Really?
Ironically, it happened in all legendary wrestling. They also wrestle on the ground. The irony of that. It also happened with small town backyard wrestling. I mean, it's happened at least 3 other occasions since that whole Psychotic Freak incident with Nate Dogg. It was just really crazy that happened.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, it's happened 3 times since that incident. It has happened 3 times on this platform. Crazy.
Maybe everyone took into consideration.
And we had Alan Michaels on, and
they must not like.
And I gotta say, technically, we were worried about a 4th because Alan Michaels had his back door open, and Atomic Titan kept talking about back doors. I'm like, no, that's somebody else. Let's go there. So we were worried that was going to be another attack. So we're obviously making sure that if Mr. Freak is here, that the door is closed, and he's obviously got everything else that he's organized, and no one's going to beat him up off the air and come in, and who knows what else. But we've had a couple of these incidents already on Sportswire. I believe we've had 3 of them since that incident back in April.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah,
no, if I know he's crazy, but like I said, if he's got any sort of common sense, lock that damn door. Lock the door.
That's a good advice for anybody here, but I don't take that advice. I don't know why. But yes, we appreciate that. We congratulate. We love our friends in LBYW. Yes. We've always had a good relationship. Want to say hello to Mr. Darkron, the man that is behind the Backyard Havoc, which was born out of this platform. So we say hello to Mr. Kron, and Mr. Kron had a hell of a match in ROVW's Meltdown opening match against C Money for the Prestige Championship. And Mr. Kron had a lot to say about Judas, who was here in the chat, but he left earlier. So thank you, Mr. Kron, for tuning in. And I'll be here at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Chase Sullivan of the Underground Wrestling Alliance. But I know you are getting ready for some football, and I wanted to ask, is there anything else that you'd like to say about LBYW before we move on to final thoughts?
So Legendary Backyard Wrestling, last full season this year, culminating heavily at Haunted Hellfest 4, which will drop on October 30th, the Devil's Night, the night before Halloween, if those who do not know basic math. And that will be the end of a lot of big and important stuff. A lot of great stuff to come out of it. The road up to then is going to be even magical. because, again, as I've stated, every great conclusion needs that fantastic setup, and that's what this road to Haunted Hellfest is to do. And you don't want to miss any of it. And then sometime after, I don't know how long after, sometime after, just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for some extra content.
All right. Well, that would certainly be good. I mean, I would obviously hope everybody joins me in tuning in. And also, we
Yes, and that
appreciate
too.
the
Yes.
group for putting our logo there on the screen. We appreciate it. Also, we appreciate our friends in the
Yes.
Nexus, the news shirt, which I actually have to go buy this shirt very soon, the voice of the voice. Because at this point, Mr.
Yes.
Alpha, I have so many shirts at this point. It was a running joke on yesterday's stream. I have so many shirts. If I bought a closet, I still wouldn't be able to put the closet, all of them in. So, I mean, at this point, I've got so many shirts that the closet wouldn't close. It's just crazy in that sense. But obviously, we'll add another one. What's that?
We'll have to add some more to you. We'll get you some legendary merch.
Well, I'm gonna buy the shirt with the Nexus and my logo. I have to buy
Sure.
something because people have been asking me when am I gonna wear something with my logo, and I want to thank my buddy Comatose for this shirt because he gave me this one. But yes, we'll definitely wear it. We'll take care
There
of
you go.
that. And
Yes.
we love our friends in the Nexus. We love everybody out there. We love all the wrestlers who go out there and do so many great things for us. We really appreciate that here and some. And also, yes, we want to thank Comatose as also seeing the chat. He congratulated me on 900 subscribers. Yes, I appreciate the support.
yeah.
Yes, one day we'll get to your number, but you guys are too popular. I'll never catch up to you guys. It's a joke. It's a joke.
No, of course you will. You will.
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. We're all having fun right now. It's a much more happier, looser environment on sports right now. Speaking of
100%.
locking doors, I know somebody that definitely needs to learn how to. White Viper. And thank you. You gave me the comment twice. I appreciate that. Thank you, backstage. We appreciate that. And okay, I think we've got enough. I've got the point. We've all got the point. We've got a lot to digest here. It's time to pass the baton to you, give you some closing thoughts, and anything else you want to plug, share, or say, fire away.
Pretty much, like I said, stay tuned for Haunted Hellfest 4 and the road to it. It's going to be a fantastic show. A lot of big key factors, a lot of huge surprises, a lot of nonstop action. It's going to be a trip, and it's going to be a great month and a half left of our main season. Like I also said, sometime after Haunted Hellfest 4, just keep your eyes peeled for some external stuff. Who knows what could happen? You never know. Anything could happen. For sure, we definitely appreciate Mr. Reverend Tom Bryce and Sportswire Radio for inducting all of LBOW into the
we'll do that after
Radio
the
Hall of
season.
Fame.
Yep, we want to do that. I think it's a well-deserved accomplishment.
Yes, and that's very humbled. It's awesome. Definitely appreciate it. And as long as you're anybody not named Napalm, I hope the rest of your night
and
goes
gunshot.
great.
And gunshot. Let's leave it. And gunshot.
Sure. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. We'll not even worth a mention.
I know. I've been telling people in the chat the last several weeks certain names. We just don't really want to bring them up at this point. It's time for us to move. We get a lot of new people come on, and other people that they message me, and they want to just hear wrestlers. They just want to hear the matches, and I think that's what people are getting. And I think it's time to move on, and we're gonna do that. But before we move on, ND_backyard_wrestling, Instagram. You got YouTube, LBYW Backstage. You got Facebook. You got TikTok. A lot of great places. Please go support them. They are definitely about all wrestling matters. They have been friends of ours for a long time. And you know my policy on this platform, where everybody's out there, I support those that support us. And congratulations. Yes, the Cowboys' big win. Cowboys just have to take that momentum and keep it into the postseason. We'll definitely, I'm sure, talk about that on Friday's show. Well, you know, listen, I don't hate the Cowboys. I did have a Cowboys jacket once upon a time as a kid growing up in Brooklyn. And my brother had an Emmett Smith jersey. I wonder if he has it still. Well, if he has it, still, it could be worth a lot of money. But
it's a legend, so you never know.
If he has it, it'd probably be in my attic, and I'm not going up to my attic anytime soon because that means that my mother will come and want to probably really take the microphone from me. She probably Well, she probably wants me to take the microphone off, but that's okay. We're not going to do any of that. We're just kidding. We're having a great time. Congratulations on the Cowboys win. Congratulations on the Capitol Grounds win. And congratulations on everything that LBYW is done. I'm looking forward to the next remaining shows into the season finale. And I'm looking forward to you guys all coming here in the Hall of Fame. I'm looking forward to seeing Napalm and Psychotic Freak very soon. So all great stuff. And thank you for all you do. I also thank you for all you do for us in the Nexus.
I'll give you Psychotic Freak, but not Napalm. No.
All right, fair enough. Well, at least I didn't say Scary Terry, but that's okay, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to scare anybody anymore, but we were joined by the Alpha himself, who's coming off a highly successful Capitol Grounds match against Ragnarok. You also see him defeat Ragnarok in a cinematic match. He also defeated Queen Juice Ice and Summer Madness. You'll see him upcoming in many more shows ahead in legendary Backyard Wrestling's road to the season finale. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively, literally where all wrestling matters. If you're on Sportswire Radio, I'm going to be here in about 2 hours or so with Chase Sullivan of the Underground Wrestling Alliance. We'll talk about their story and more as we are now on the road to 1,000 subscribers here on Sportswire Radio. Hit that sub button for us, YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. Hit the sub button for our friends at LBYWND_backyard_wrestling on their road to 1,600. I'll see everybody in a little while. Thank you so much. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire.